So 700 million top end, 30 million on the bottom end. Yeah, you didn't want to go lower than that?
No, it didn't always start. It started lower than that.
Started
That's
lower
just where it
than
is
that.
now.
All right,
Yeah,
we'll
for
get
sure,
into
for
that.
sure.
We'll get into that. It's clearly not all about money. There's a big heart to it, but just so people can have a sense of scale of where you're at. Mike told me I could ask him any questions, so I intend to. Projected year-to-date revenue for 2026?
Yeah, we'll do 500,000.
500,000. How big is your team?
1.
There you have it. All right. Let's back up the tape and ask, how did you get here? You alluded, and I don't know the answer to this, but you alluded to having a, what was the word? Crazy childhood. Where'd you grow up, and can you define crazy?
Yeah, so I grew up over in Granville. Lived there almost all my life except for the 5 years I lived in Chicago after college. Yeah, raised by a single mother, oldest of 3 kids. Dad was in and out of prison until I was 10. Then got out, disappeared, came into my life when he was 15. Then through a crazier circumstance with him, drugs and a whole bunch of stuff, he ended up leaving. Disappeared again, didn't know where he went. Showed up at my high school graduation, then disappeared after that, didn't know where he went. And then I was a sophomore in college, and tragically, my younger brother, who was a senior in high school, he took his life. So my dad showed up at the funeral and then disappeared again. And then day before I was supposed to graduate from college, I got a phone call. It was my dad. And he explained to me that he was going to be there, but he didn't look anything like I remembered him looking like. And he proceeded to tell me that he had stage 4 liver cancer. And so graduation came and went. He didn't show up. But then 2 days later, I got a call, and he was in town at a friend's house, and he asked me to come see him. And I went and saw him, and sure enough, yeah, he was skin and bones and pretty much on his deathbed. And that was the last time I saw him alive. Wow. He died shortly after that. So just a lot of stuff going on.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
We could spend the next 60 minutes easily
Sure.
unpacking that. But how, just as an overlay to the rest of your story, to the best of your ability, how did that shape and mold who you are today?
Yeah, just made me lean on my relationship with God. And a lot of hard lessons, obviously, in that. But, you know, being older and being able to look back, I can see how God was placing certain older men in my life to, like, come alongside me and keep me from, like, going off the deep end, so to speak, and into other things that probably wouldn't serve me. You know, I was the first person in my family to go to college, first person in my family to graduate from college. I mean, so big milestones, right, that never would have happened if God wouldn't have placed these guys in my life to kind of mold me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That relationship with Christ, when did that really become real for you in this process?
Well, I mean, so I was raised half my life by my grandparents. So my grandpa was very strong in his faith. And so that's kind of where I got introduced. And then I'd say I got a little bit more serious on my own when I was around 16. But, you know, and everyone's got their own journey that they're on with God. But I would say, like, the real tipping point where I planted a flag in the ground and said, all right, enough, I'm going to, you know, be a man for God. And there's not going to be any wavering. That was probably when I was 36 and went on quest.
Wow. Okay.
So,
and we'll get to that
yeah.
in a little bit. But thank you again for sharing.
Sure.
So amidst all of this, graduate high school in Granville High School?
Yeah.
Okay, Granville High School. You went off to Kalamazoo College.
It's okay if you boo me.
So, nothing but love in this room. It's time. And so you go off to Kalamazoo College. As you went to college, what was you're the first person in your family to go to college.
Yeah.
Why did you go when you didn't have any, at least familial role
Sure.
models doing that? And where did you see your life going when you went?
Yeah, that's a great question. I went because I wanted to play basketball. And I had offers from a lot of places, Hope, bunch of MIAA, some D2, but that coach called me all the time and made me feel like I was wanted. And, like, that's one thing I've had to recognize in my journey is, like, the abandonment from my dad and, like, how that shows up in my life. So at that time with an older man saying, I want you to come here and pursuing me, like, that was very hard to say no to.
Yeah.
And my plan was I'm going to go to college and play basketball, and then I'm going to go overseas and play basketball. I wasn't even thinking about education, and people that were around me, like teachers and stuff, they're like, wow, like you're going to get a great education and all this. And that was I didn't have any context for that because like I said, I was the first person in my family to go to college.
So academics was second at best, but maybe third or fourth on the priority
Yeah,
list.
for sure.
Okay. What did you end up majoring in?
Well, I started off in econ. This is an interesting story. And I got to my final class, and we had a visiting professor from France. He won the Nobel Prize for economics. And after we took our final exam, he stood up and proceeded to lecture us for 15 minutes. And he was going off about econ and how it's not applicable in the real world, and it's just, all philosophy, and like it's not provable and all this stuff. And that really kind of turned me off. And so I was a minor in religion, so I ended up flip-flopping, thinking maybe I'd go to seminary. So I graduated with a major in religion.
In religion and a minor in econ?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And did you go to seminary?
No.
Okay. Where did you go? What was senior year like as you were deciding where to go after that, and where did you end up?
Yeah, so senior year I was still focused on playing basketball overseas. So that was like...
That was your dream?
That was, yeah. So I, played the season. After the season, just went into training, and then after training, my focus was on this exposure camp that I was going to after I graduated, where there would be a bunch of scouts there, and that would determine if you were able to go overseas or not.
Okay. And what did they determine?
Well, I went, and actually I did fairly well, but what made me stand out is between games, you'd have guys sitting in the bleachers. Everyone would be talking or on their phone or whatever. I was reading a book. And so the lady who ran the whole thing, she saw me reading a book, and she came up to me and started asking me questions about this book. And it was a spiritual-based book. I think it was called The Ragamuffin Gospel was the name of the book. And we just kind of hit it off. And because of that, she helped me establish relationships with different coaches. Nothing ever specifically came out of that, but it did put my name out there and help me move forward. Yeah.
And just as an aside, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but I hear in that the power of relationships.
Right, totally.
More than degrees and even more than skills in many cases, right? Connecting to the right people matters. And honestly, as just an aside, there's a lot of really interesting people who come into this room. You're right at the top of that list. My goodness. Take the advantage to connect with the people who come in here. I say it every week, but I really mean it. It makes such a difference.
Yeah, I just want to, on that point, my grandpa, he was a very successful builder, and he would always tell me, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And as a kid, I never understood that. And even back then, I didn't stand that. But yeah, how true that is. It's not always necessarily what you know, but it's who you know that can help you move forward in life or whatever it is you're trying to do.
Yeah. That's enormous. Okay, so you talked to her, built some relationships around that. Where did this end up going?
Yeah, I ended up getting invited to go to the Philippines to play basketball, so went over there for a little bit, and then came back here, and then there was a couple of semi-pro leagues that are no longer in existence now that were back then. Bounced around to a couple of them, and then the highlight of that is I ended up signing a contract to go on tour with the Harlem Globetrotters.
All right.
But I didn't end up going.
You didn't end up going?
No,
okay. Unpack that just a little bit. And I don't want to assume, if you'll just give a quick, who are the Globetrotters, and then talk about...
Yeah, so they're just an entertainment basketball organization that's been around for, I think, over 50 years, maybe even longer than that. And they tour all around the world and put on exhibition basketball games where this is kind of a little inside baseball. Most people don't know this, but so... They have essentially 3 teams. They have the visiting team, which is the team I would have been on, and that's all guys who came from college, played. And then they have the Globetrotters team, which is 2 teams. It's one team of guys who do all the tricks. If you look up their highlights, they spin the balls around and do all that. And then they have a team of guys who are real basketball players as well. And so what they do is every game the visiting team, the team they travel with, the Generals, they have to spot them 50 trick points. So what that means is they'll bring in the game and they'll start the game off where it's basketball players competing against basketball players. Then they stop, let's say a minute in, sub out those 5 basketball players, bring in the trick guys, do some tricks and some entertainment to get the crowd into it, right? And then sub those guys back out, and then it's live basketball again to kind of keep the audience guessing and you know, because it's an entertainment business.
So all 3 teams travel around together.
Yeah, so the way it would have worked is I was going to go to Brazil for 2 months, and then from Brazil we would go to Europe and travel around Europe, and then while it's winter here, and then come in the States during the summer and finish up the tour here in the States.
Okay.
And so my plan was to go on just the Brazilian portion at first, get the money, and then go to grad school.
Okay. And what changed?
My life, just some certain life things happened. I talked with my grandpa, just where I was at personally. I didn't think that I would put myself in the best position of going to Brazil with all these guys and kind of be like, I mean, in some people's eyes, maybe like a rock star or an athlete, and just the temptation and the trouble that would get me into. So I didn't think it was worth it. So I said no to the opportunity.
That's huge. Have any of you seen the Globetrotters live? Just a quick show of hands. So yeah, I remember going when I was like 11, and it really stood out to me. How did you get there? Like really, you kind of just talk about it in your narrative, but really, like, you've got this incredible offer.
Yeah, it was a lot of money at the time.
How much were they going to pay?
$75K.
$75K for 2 months?
Yeah.
And you get kind of this stardom experience abroad. How did you have the humility to say it's not worth it?
Only God, because he was stirring up some things in my life, you know, and he was basically like just having this conversation with me of, you know, do I want to go there and put myself in these types of environments and, you know, and the pressures that come with that, with the stuff off the court, or, you know, do I want to stay here and see what he has for me?
Wow. I think if you put 1,000 people in that situation, you'd be the only one.
Maybe, yeah.
No. And
if I wouldn't have talked to my grandpa, I probably would have went, because he helped reinforce, you know, what God was telling me.
Yeah.
You know.
But the amount of, honestly, the amount of respect I have for you for that is just tremendous. Okay. So you said no to the Brazilian Globetrotter tour. Where did life go then?
Like I said, my grandpa raised me half my life, so I was living with him. He said, you got 2 weeks to get out, find a job, and get a place of your own. So he kicked me out the nest, which was the best thing that could ever happen to me. And so here I am, I'm 24 years old, and it's like, okay, what do I do? So I ended up getting a job selling credit card processing machines door to door for businesses. And they got me in because they said that they would have preset appointments for me. So you just show up, you present, try to close the deal, and move on. So I'm like, all right, I can do that. I can present, no problem. Yeah. Went through the training, got out in the field, and it wasn't nothing like they said it was going to be.
No preset appointments?
Oh my gosh, I'd go to an appointment, and the guy would, like, with his broomstick, like, you know, chase me out of the store being like, I told them not to send anybody here. I don't, you know, I'm not switching, you know. So it was a nightmare.
Oh,
yeah, it was
rough.
rough.
How long did you last there?
3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I had a buddy who was real successful in finance, in the mortgage industry specifically, and I was like, hey, could you know, help me out? And he's like, yeah, I could probably get you a job. It was at a place actually right down the street, which was a big mortgage company back then called Arbor Mortgage, and so I was waiting for him to do that, and that was going on too slow, and so I had another buddy that I played basketball with, and his older brother was a VP at a different mortgage company, and he's like, I can get you an interview tomorrow. So he got me an interview. I went in, they liked me, and now here we go into the mortgage industry.
Okay, so mortgage industry. Eventually you'll go on to start your own consultancy in the marketing space. Was this kind of the first turn that started taking you towards that direction?
No, I was in the mortgage industry for 18 years. The last 3 years that I was in the mortgage industry is where my love from marketing that I generated as a teenager started. So as a teenager, like, once again, I lived half my life with my grandparents. my grandpa, he was a very successful man. I never said this before, but now hearing it's funny. This is gonna make me seem old. But my grandpa had one of the first satellites ever, satellite TVs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know what that is, I mean, it's like a giant satellite on a stick, and you push a button and it would move and get different signals from around the country. So I would sit downstairs at night and I would try to find what I could on satellite TV, and I would see all these infomercials. And infomercials are just like a 15 or 30-minute sales presentation that they're paying for to be on TV to sell something. And I was fascinated by those. And so that's kind of what sparked my love for marketing. And I borrowed my grandma's credit card and ordered one of these things I saw late night on TV. And yeah, when that came, I just devoured that thing. It was like a how to buy homes with no money down type of course. Mm-hmm. And so I would just study that, and then that introduced me to different marketing gurus like Dan Kennedy and John Collier and all this. So I would start getting their books because I'm a teenager and just reading those. And that started this love that was always in the background as I went through college and then into my career. And so the final 3 years that I was in finance, Facebook was getting really big, and so was LinkedIn. And I was using LinkedIn just to make a lot of connections and stuff. And people in the office, they saw what I was doing on LinkedIn, and a couple of the guys I worked for, they were like, hey, could you do that for me? So I was like, sure. And that was kind of the genesis of King Family Consulting. Mm-hmm. And I started running their LinkedIn for them, building out their profiles, and then getting all these inbound connections for them that they could then turn into sales. And then one of those guys came to me and said, well, do you know anything about Facebook? And I was like, no, I don't, but I'd love to learn. So
this was what year?
This was, 2017, 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this was a mortgage lender who wanted to get more publicity for
Yeah,
himself,
get more publicity, get more leads. Yep. Make connections. And so I said, sure, buy me this course on how to do it, and I'll figure it out, and I'll do it for free for you.
Oh, wow.
So he did.
Yeah. Bought the course.
And I crushed it.
All right. And that starts the last 3 years at the mortgage?
Yeah, so then that's where my first few clients came from, right? Were these guys that were, salesmen in the mortgage profession, and they all wanted leads. So, that first guy was told one guy, and then they told another guy. And then I started telling some people that I could do this, and it kind of just ballooned from there.
Let me draw out from this moment. Many people in this room have their own startups that they're early stage on, and this essentially is your early stage startup, right? Whether you called it that in your mind even or not, I don't know, but it was. What takeaways from that moment of getting your first customers do you have in terms of anything that might transfer to somebody else?
One, don't be afraid of failure, because I didn't know anything about it. Mm-hmm. I just told them I'd figure it out, because that had been my life up to that point. I figured things out, right? So I just had confidence in myself. Relatively smart person, so I thought I could. And then just the power of leveraging relationships. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of young entrepreneurs or a lot of people I consult with, they're like, well, I'm not doing nothing for free. My time's worth more than that. And I can't disagree with that, but that's very short-sighted. Early on, a lot of times I would do stuff for free in exchange for them introducing me to someone new. Because I knew ultimately that person, would either pay me for what I did, or they would introduce me to someone else that was higher up the food chain that would eventually pay me.
Would you structure it that way? Like, hey, I'll do this for you, but you have to introduce me to this person?
Yeah, that's a great question. One guy, an insurance broker over here in Middleville, he owns, I think, 3 or 6 different companies. And he was when I was trying to figure out my pricing and stuff, talking to other people who were doing this, he's like, I'm not paying you for that. He's like, you have no proven success or whatever. I was like, instead of being offended, I was like, okay, there's more than, one form of value exchange. I was like, hey, I'll do this for free for you. I was like, you just got to introduce me to 6 other business owners that you personally know that are successful.
Yeah.
And he said, done. and then picked up the phone and introduced me to those 6 people right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did those 6, how many of those 6 turned into clients?
Yeah, two of them did in the short term, but I think you always learn something from every situation. The other 4 I went and talked to, and they were just at different stages in their businesses where they didn't, like one guy didn't believe in marketing, so that was never going to get closed. Another guy was just, he didn't have, he ran an oil shop, so it was like he couldn't, what I knew about marketing at that time wouldn't fit what he was trying to do.
Sure.
Right? But those conversations and just being able to ask those guys who had been in business for a long time different things and have conversations, I was going to extract some sort of value out of that, which I did.
Yeah, yeah. I love essentially the bartering system to figure out how do you have something of value. It's not necessarily cash.
Yeah.
Not necessarily only cash,
Right.
I should say. All right, so 2018 was your first year doing this?
Yeah.
2018, 2019, 2020. Can you take us through, as best you can recall, your revenue growth, specifically for the consulting work, for the marketing work, outside of the
Sure.
outside of the mortgage industry?
Yeah, mortgage, I mean, that paid me very well, paid my bills, but the marketing thing was kind of just a side hustle during then, where I could just learn as much as possible. So that first year, I mean, I don't know if I made any money because I was just bartering for either connections with people or to up-level my skill set. Like I've done so many barters for people buying me courses where I get to absorb all that knowledge and learn because I love that in exchange for then taking what I learned from that and applying it to their business or helping them.
Are you ever concerned in those moments that like they're going to judge you and walk away? Like, hey, I don't know how to do Instagram marketing, but if you buy me this course, I'll learn how and then I'll do it for you. Do you ever have that concern that they're going to look at you and be like, I'm not going to pay you to learn? Like, I'll go find somebody else who already knows how to do it.
No, no, that never crossed my mind. And if they did, okay, on to the next. I didn't look at it like that. I guess I saw them as like, they saw me as, like, I think business people appreciate someone who's hungry and who's willing to learn. And if it's a fair exchange of value, how okay, you're going to pay someone 45, well now, let's say, to get somebody to do what I do full-time in a business is going to run you anywhere from $85,000 to $130,000 a year. Or you can get a kid relatively, right? Someone younger, right, who's hungry and who is willing to learn the information, right, and pay them a couple $1,000 for a course where someone else teaches them and then they apply it. I mean, it's a very low risk value prop for a business owner. So
it's all about kind of de-risking that in terms of how much they are.
For them, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so 2018, maybe didn't make any money.
Yeah.
2019.
Couple $1,000.
Okay, a couple thousand.
Yeah.
2020.
Then it started to get worthwhile, probably 20, 30,000.
Okay. I want to zoom in on 2 moments. I want to zoom in between going from like 2,000 to 30,000, because that is a question that's often, on some level, represented in a room like this. And then after that, I want to figure out 30,000 to 500,000.
Okay.
But let's focus on the first one right now, 2 to 30.
Yeah, 2 to 30, I think, is one, just being confident in your skill set, right, which allows you to have better conversations with the people you want to serve. Because now you know what questions to ask, right, so that it shows the gaps and shows them the gaps in whatever it is they're missing. And then because you have the confidence, then that gives them a degree of confidence that you can deliver them the results. Therefore, you can start to charge more for your services.
Confidence only works if there's a person you're in front of, though. So how did you get in front of the right people? Was it truly this bartering for relationship system?
Mm-hmm. If I went back and I had something totally new and had to start all over, that's exactly what I would do. But I could do it just that much faster now because I know what I know.
I'll do this. You introduce me.
Right.
We're good.
All about introductions, all about proximity. That's how I have my biggest client now. All from getting in with the right people.
Okay. So that took you to 30,000. Let's take this next gap there, 30 to 500.
Yeah, so I'm doing this as like a side hustle, right, while I'm doing the mortgage thing, but I'm getting burnt out, working 80, 100 hours a week on that side, doing that. And it's totally just a God thing. I mean, God at certain points in my life is like, just kicked me out of the boat and been like, we're gonna make you, swim or sink. And he knows I'm gonna swim. So, but sometimes I need that kick. Like it happened early on in my life. One part I forgot to tell you is when my grandpa kicked me out and told me I need to get a job. I can't remember if it was before selling the credit card machines or if it was after, but I got a job working at this factory downtown, and I was there for 2 weeks. And the general manager came to me and he was like, "Why are you here?" And I'm like, "I got to pay my bills. I'm a hard worker. I wanted a job." And he's like, "Why are you here?" And I'm like, "Is this a trick question?" I'm like, I want to work. And he's like, "I'm going to ask you one more time." He's like, "You're the only person in this building besides me with a college degree. Why are you here?" And I'm like, "I want to work." He leaves. I go home for the day. Next morning, get up to go to work. Go upstairs. My grandma's sitting in her recliner drinking her coffee like she normally does. And she's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm going to work just like any other day." She's like, "Not today. Your manager called and said you're fired. Don't come back." Right? So I think that guy like knew, right? Or maybe God was telling him, right? Or prompting him to like kick me out there because maybe I'd become a lifer at a fact. Not saying that that's bad, but maybe there was just more. So, right, that was that was the kick. So here I am in the mortgage industry and, I'm just like getting burnt out, not sure what to do. And same thing, me and my wife and my family, we take a trip out to California. I had just signed a contract with the mortgage company. They were doing a lot of mergers and acquisitions. So they were acquiring this huge merger, and I was going to be in charge of like making sure the handoff went smoothly and people's loans didn't slow down and all this other stuff. And so they're like, "Hey, take a couple weeks off. We'll give you a big bonus. When this merger happens, just be ready to work again." So I'm like, "Cool." So we're out on the trip, we're on our way back, and I get a call from someone in HR. And this company that I was with had grown from 300 people to 30,000 people across the United States. Yeah, the mortgage company. So they were massive at this time. And so someone in HR called me and they're like, "Hey, you're being laid off." And in my mind, it's like a blessing in disguise. Not so much in my wife's mind, but,
You've been there 18 years.
Right.
You get laid off, but just as this other thing is
Yeah, exactly. So then I'm like, all right, I'm jumping into this full steam ahead. So, now it's like, okay, how do I ramp up the client acquisition? And then that was, reaching out to people I had done stuff in the past, asking for introductions, just being more vocal on social media and stuff about what I was doing and the successes that I was having, which brought people in.
It's fascinating. I've heard this theme before too, right? Like oftentimes getting fired, getting laid off is the best thing for you because otherwise you just get comfortable and complacent. And if you've got a desire for something more, that there's opportunity there.
Yeah.
So to zoom in on that, you'd gotten to about 30,000. And were there relationships that you were introduced to that you didn't go and lean into? Or how were you able to increase velocity to that level without kind of new lead sources?
Yeah, so a couple of things there. First, like the biggest thing I would say is you got to get a case study, right? And a case study is just an example of your success. Could be with one client, could be with a bunch of clients. You need a really good case study where you went in and you offered this value exchange, right? And then you got this person, this transformation, whatever that looks like, whether you're in fitness, whether you're in consulting like me, you did something that, was extremely valuable for them. And then that becomes the core of all the messaging that you then move forward with when you're having these conversations, because my grandpa always used to say, you can't BS a BSer, right? So when, you can talk good all day long, but when you actually have a case study that you can show somebody that walks them through, here's where business was, or here's where this person was, Now here's where they are 90 days later. They've lost all this weight, or I've brought them so many leads, or, this transformation. That's pretty hard to ignore. And so that opens a lot of doors for you that otherwise wouldn't be opened. So I got a really good case study during that time, right, through bartering, because I was in a mastermind group with these other people that did what I did, and they had a huge client that they acquired, but they needed other people to help work on it. So I wasn't as known as I am now. I'm just this young guy coming up in this thing. I said, hey, can I help with this? You don't need to pay me. I just want to be a part of this so that I can have this case study when it's done.
Yeah.
They love that.
I'm sure
Absolutely. Here you go. Right? Gave me all the crap things to do, but hey, I was going to get this case study, so it was worth it to me.
Yeah.
And then I had that case study. Now it's like any business owner that I went in front of, I would show them that case study, and it was undeniable.
So let me ask a little bit more about that, but just to draw everybody into that, because that's so big, right? Like there's people in the room, if it's landscaping, right? Like you've got kind of a before and after. Look, we were able to do this to this property. If it's fitness, right? Like it's kind of before and after in terms of, whether it be just physical or holistic health. Whether it's photography, like, hey, look, we created this beautiful wedding experience or senior moment experience or whatever. So you've got this story, you articulate it well. I understand you get in front of a client and you can talk about it with them. What other places do you use that case study? How does that help you in other ways?
Everywhere. Social media, on my website at the time, on my LinkedIn, anywhere that people would come in and see me. I mean, I also did. I didn't tell you about this, but even when I was like the first place I worked at mortgage-wise, like I convinced my boss to let me do a huge direct mail marketing campaign, and it was thousands and thousands of dollars. And I put it all together, and we did it, and it like brought in leads, and like I learned that all from these books I was reading and stuff, and then just going and telling him. And I think the big part of that is like, whether it's a case study, it's like have a story, right? Marketing is story, it's storytelling, right? That makes people move, that changes their mind about something or opens them up to something new.
This gets a little more in the tactical side of it. You've got this story. Do you have a preference on how that's communicated? Is it like, hey, we need a 5-minute video that we're going to put everywhere? Or is this photos, or is this writing?
Yeah, I think you got to start what's comfortable with you. So like what was comfortable with me at the time was it was just a PDF, right? That talked about, it started off with what was the, who's your avatar, okay? So my avatar was, at the time I didn't have a very good idea. I was like, I'll just take anybody that'll pay me, so who is that? So, it was a business owner.
By avatar, you mean ideal customer?
Yeah,
yep,
right,
okay.
ICP,
Yep.
yeah. So it was just business owner. Okay, so what problem did the business owner have? And then I wrote that all out for the case study. All right, what did we try to do to help them solve that problem? And there was several different things that we had tried, right? So I wrote all that, very thorough. By the end, I think, if I went back and looked it up, I think it was like 16 or 20 pages long. And then next section, what were the results of each of the things that we tried? And then the final section was, now having been through that, what would I have done, or what would we have done differently to, make this transformational process faster or better, right? But super like tangible things that if another business owner like took that from my website, they could read that and be like, dang, he's giving it all away. Like, so now I could either choose to do this for myself, or give it to someone in my office, or I could hire him to come and do it. So it's like not gatekeeping any of the information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be clear, that writing is a fictitious, like, here's the ideal, and then you go and try to make that happen? Or that writing is writing about an actual client?
Yeah, writing about an actual client that you took through this process.
That represents the ICP.
Yeah, And so, so then I leveraged that. And then I turned that, once I got more comfortable, into videos.
Yeah. I want to do something a little bit different than what we normally do. Normally we kind of wrap up the interview portion and then push it out to questions. But we're digging into some really practical stuff right now. And I want to give space for questions right now. So I'm going to just ask one more and then open it up to questions. And then we may even weave back into a little bit more interview. So be thinking of who wants to start us off there. As you have moved forward, do you continue to collect more and more case studies to kind of expand that scope, or did your marketing strategy, does it hit a point where you're like, okay, I have the credibility, and now it switches to a different form?
Yeah, it's a mix of both. I have case studies, but I also have credibility. So now it's just a matter of what does the person need to see? Some people I'm introduced to, all they care about is the credibility. Oh, you've worked with this person and this person, like, okay, what can you do for me? Let's go. Other people, they don't care about that. They're like, what can you do for my business? Yeah. Right? And then that's where the case study comes in, and it's like, hey, I just worked with this SaaS company, right? I helped them, acquire, 1,000 customers a month at this CPA, cost per acquisition, and then this is, what the return on ad spend looked like. This was their profit. This is, the different things I helped them with in terms of like their offer or creating their marketing system, giving them tangible, practical examples, that relate to their business.
Sure.
Yeah.
You have the credibility. You can kind of lean into what they're doing a little
right.
more than just the story, at least for
And it becomes a little bit of like salesmanship. And when I mean salesmanship, I don't mean like used car sales or hardcore closing or whatever some people have in their mind. I just mean like, what are the problems they're having, and what do you have from your own experience that you can share with them to show them that, hey, this isn't new for me, right? Like, I've seen this. I know how to solve this problem. Yeah. Here's what I did. Do you want to go do it for yourself, or do you want me to help you?
Yeah, I love the marketing angle, both in terms of how you're marketing yourself and then how you're helping others.
Yeah, it's all about outcomes.
Yeah.
That's what they care about, is the outcome.
They don't care how you did it.
Right. Yeah. What's the outcome going to be?
Who wants to start with a question as it relates to anything around these topics?
Yeah, so my name's Austin. I own a personal training business, and I'm curious with marketing. So like when I'm designing a fitness program for someone, you got like your meat and potatoes, you got like the fitness program, the nutrition, like general sense of activity. And then you have, so that's like the meat and potatoes, and then you have like the sides, which kind of changes. So that's like, does this person have pre-existing ailments, and do we need to use stuff like corrective exercise and like lifestyle adjustments outside of the training to tweak a little bit, right? So like the side items. So like with marketing, is it like you have kind of like the meat and potatoes that you generally use for everyone, but then like the sides change depending on the industry, or like kind of how would you weigh that out?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good example. And another way I think about it is just think about it like fishing, right? There's different kinds of bait. Right? And you got to throw different kinds of bait out because it'll attract different types of customers or potential customers or prospects. And you don't know, so that's why you're always testing, right? I'm going to try this new thing, or I'm going to try this new thing, or I got this idea that God downloaded. I'm going to try that. And then obviously if it works, you repeat the successful action.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah, because I mean, like, example, I'll come across clients who, like example, everyone who sits at a desk, they have low back issues, they have shoulder issues, they have hip issues, right? So it's kind of like you find those commonalities amongst the different demographics.
Yep, and then when you go out to the marketplace, like a great exercise you can do for yourself is, and we'll tailor it to what you do. Think of that person who's sitting in their office chair. Okay, were they male? Were they female? How old were they? Okay, do you know what their income level is? Do you know, because you've had meetings with them on Zoom, and you saw their desk, what types of books do they read? Because these are all signals where or think of it back to fishing, like these are all little ponds that you can then go fish in to find other clients just like them. So I'll give you a real practical example. Maybe you're meeting with one of these people and you see on their desk, they got a Bible, right? So now you know there's other people that read their Bible. So that's a whole nother side ICP that you could talk to in your messaging when you're doing whatever it is you're marketing, you know. Are you a Christian businessman who sits at the desk 8 or 10 hours a day, right? Yeah, right. Are you, a leader who likes John Maxwell and, I don't know, Simon Sinek? These are all different things that you can use to like talk to different people and make those connections. Because all you're trying to do is to get them to stop what they're doing and notice you and then pay attention to what you have to say.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Can I kind of jump in on there? So you've talked a little bit about how to, once you've started getting clients, to build off from that, but when you're first starting to find clients, where are you looking? Because like you could cold email people on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
where you could go and try and find like conferences or events
Mhm.
to attend, or is it kind of all of them?
Well, it just depends. So, it depends on two things. Like you're going to pay a price. You're going to pay time or you're going to pay money, right? So, like cold email, that takes a little bit of both, mostly time, right? Unless you do like AI and automations, that could be argued. But anyways, or what you could do is if you want to go straight to the top, like I could go to like say a Tony Robbins event and I could pay for a $5,000 ticket and sit in the VIP section with other business owners that have paid that same amount. And then they're going to ask me, what do? I do marketing for business owners. Now I'm surrounded by the people I want. I don't know what your business is, but like, let's say maybe you're a car detailer, right? So now you buy a ticket to a premium car show. Right? And now there's all these guys with their Ferraris and Bugattis and Lambos and all this stuff, and you strike up a conversation with them and you're like, hey man, nice car. And they're like, oh, what do you do? Glad you asked. I detail, high performance sports cars, so it's whatever you need to do to get around the people that you want to serve. There's
And
different ways of doing
I
that.
detail high performance sports cars. You're not a car detailer. You're a high performance
Yeah.
car detailer.
Yes.
Like
Right.
You're taking that
Right.
niche.
Mm-hmm.
Christian business owners with Bibles that have lower back pain.
Yeah.
Right? And building.
Yes,
a brand
you
around
want to
it.
be as specific as possible to the person you're talking to. Like they should say in their mind, wow, this guy's reading my mind.
Because you know them so well.
Right.
You know that type
Mhm.
so well. Yeah. Who's next?
You're welcome.
I want to know if let's say that somebody in a similar spot to many of the students here
Mm-hmm.
hired you. They might be slightly below your $30 million floor, but only slightly. And they said, is there some brave soul who you're like, hey, I'll pitch my business in 2 seconds or in 2 sentences, and then we'll case study it? Okay.
Yeah. So the whole premise of my personal training business is we help people use their health and fitness. So basically learn how to utilize their health and fitness as a catalyst for the rest of their life to create positive change.
Mm-hmm.
So our whole mantra is train with purpose, live with purpose.
Okay, I love it.
Okay. So Austin, you said right?
Yep.
Yeah. Austin, you tell me if you don't want to answer any of these questions, but you have how many customers right now?
Oh, somewhere between 35 and 45.
Okay.
But varying different amounts of times that they're coming in per week in services.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you want to be by the end of the year?
I would love to be at 100.
Okay.
But the thing is, I would like to have probably about 75% of those being online.
Okay.
Where would you go?
A couple questions. Do you want to have 100 clients that pay you a little bit of money, or would you rather have a few clients that pay you a lot of money?
A few clients that pay a lot of money.
Okay.
So if I would probably actually cut that number in half to maybe more like 20 to 25 clients who are paying me a lot of money.
Okay. Do you have any clients currently that you would say pay you a good amount of money?
Yeah.
All right,
Definitely.
perfect. So I want you to think of your best client that pays you a lot of money, okay? What's their name?
His name's Ken.
Ken?
Yep.
Okay. Do you know what Ken does for a living?
Ken does cybersecurity sales.
All right. Is Ken married?
Yeah, Ken's married. His wife also comes in too.
Okay. What's her name?
Haley.
Do Ken and Haley have children?
Yeah.
How many kids?
2 kids total.
Do you know what type of vehicles they drive?
Subarus.
Does Haley work?
Yeah.
What'd she do?
So Haley's a community manager for Kent County.
Okay. How old is Ken and how old's Haley?
Ken's 52 and Haley's 39.
Okay. Do you know anything like, maybe you don't, and if you don't, I'll tell you how to get this information, but do you know like what types of movies or what types of books they like to read?
Yeah. Ken likes a lot of nonfiction. Kind of like mind stimulating stuff.
Okay.
Austin, I'm waiting for you to say I don't know, and I'm so impressed so far. So this is
Well,
good.
you build these relationships. with
Yeah, that's
people over
good.
time,
That's
and
good.
You extract a lot of information.
That's good.
I like to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, what do Ken and Haley like to do in their free time?
They do a lot of stuff with their kids. So they'll take their kids, like example, they just had a birthday party for their daughter. They had like a little tea party for their daughter.
Okay.
They
But-
like to, let's see, they have a dog. They have
Okay, that's a big one. That's a big one. They got a dog. What kind of dog?
It is, gosh, what it's called.
If you don't know, that's all right.
It's like one of those bigger dogs.
It don't matter. They got a dog. We're good with that. Okay. They got a big dog. That's important because some people got little dogs. Big dog. All right. What else? What do they like to do when they're not with their kids?
Yeah, when they're not with their kids, they like to have date nights.
Okay.
They like to cook.
Cook. Perfect. Okay. Right? Okay. So,
And then Ken really, I can tell he's like a busybody. He's like working on a lot of house projects right now.
Okay.
He's trying to work on their attic right now and get that finished. He literally told me a story about how he gutted a house from the inside out when he was younger. Something that had to do with like his dad, telling him that he bet he couldn't do it, and then he gutted the whole house from the inside out, and then he like totally rebuilt it by himself.
okay. Cool. So, these people are your ICP. Okay? And then here's their demographic information about them, a little bit of psychographic information about them. If he didn't know this information about Ken and Haley, but they were clients, who knows where he could get that information?
Facebook.
Who said that? Good job. Exactly. Social media. We put all this stuff out there, right? So if you didn't know this, you could go to their Facebook pages and you could snoop and see what are they talking about, right? And look for these types of things, right? You're looking for what interests them. What do they talk about? Okay, so that's one piece of it.
Do you want another ICP that has like a transformation story who's been working with me for a year?
No, this is good for what we're doing. Okay. You said, these are your ideal clients. They pay you good money. So now we got to think of where can I find other Ken and Haley's, right? And that's why you make a list of this stuff. Okay. So then now your job is, all right, he's in cyber. Are there,
He's in sales for cyber.
Okay, even better.
I think, yeah, sales obviously is an industry that
Sure.
good. There's no cap. That can
Right.
be very lucrative.
Okay. So what are some maybe some sales events that you could go to, right, in Vegas or around here or whatever your budget affords you to? All right, Subaru. That's kind of a fringe one, but there's going to be commonalities here. So there's going to be other high earning people that drive nice. What would a
I
Subaru?
will say, like, a lot of my higher-end clients drive Subarus.
Okay.
Like, I have clients who are lawyers.
All right.
And all drive Subarus.
So then maybe, one idea from this is, okay, go to the Subaru dealership and talk to one of the sales guys there and form a relationship with them and be like, hey, do you have any clients that, sit around and they complain about their back or they want to, get better? Find a way to barter with them
Yeah.
and be like, hey, can you introduce me to some of your clients? And I'll, I don't know what you charge, but let's just say for a package you charge 10 grand and be like, hey, I'll pay you a commission, $1,000 for anybody who signs up with me, right? That's one way. Okay, nonfiction, so some books that he likes. There's got to be other people that like those same kind of books. So you could pay for a list. They actually have this information. You could actually take all this information and give this to a data broker, and they could find every other person in the United States who has all these same commonalities. Now, so that's one way, but you want to start by making this list. Now, what I do is I just leverage this information online. So like Facebook, for example. Facebook has all this information because they know what you click on, what pages you say you like, what websites you visit, everything. I think the last I heard they have 75,000 data points for every person. So the cool thing about Facebook, right, and this is a pay to play, but I can run a Facebook ad and I can tell Facebook to find me all the Kens out there, right? And now I can put an ad in front of all those Kens for, as little as $1 with a very specific message, right? And I would talk to those people just like I talked to Ken, and I would make a short 30-second video script. Are you in cyber sales sitting at a desk all day, hunched over and your back hurts and you're not happy with how you look? I do some more due diligence on that industry and find out more about like what you've done for Ken and like what his pain points and stuff were. But I'd write a very simple 30-second script, film that selfie style. I hate high production stuff. Everyone knows it's an ad. People don't want to watch it. I'd sit in my car. I'd hold out my iPhone like this, and I'd record a very simple 30-second message, and I'd speak to the camera just as if Ken was in front of my face, and it was the first time I'm meeting him, and I'm telling him how I could help him. And then I would use all this data from Facebook and tell it exactly who I'm looking for. And if I could afford $1 a day, I would pay the $1 a day for that message to go in front of those Kens. They would watch my video, and maybe my call to action is text me at this number. And then all the other Kens that were interested in having that same type of transformation, they would then text me, and then that's where my clients would come from. If you couldn't pay $1 a day, let's see, you need the freebie model. And these two can work together. There's a great website out there. I think it's called Answer the Public. And it lets you do, I think 3 searches for free. So you can go on there, and in your case, you could type in there, what's a question most of your clients ask you? Like a common question.
How do you help fix shoulder pain?
Okay. Yep. So you do that. It's a search engine. You type in how to fix shoulder pain. And now this website, Answer the Public, is going to pull up every other search that people do around how to fix shoulder pain. and it's going to show you all the questions they're asking. Okay? So let's say there's 5 questions. I don't know what they are. What you could do is you could make one video for each one of these questions, right? Because you're the expert, and these people are already out there searching for these answers. So question number 1, you would answer in the video. And here's a couple, like, inside baseball. Never open up your video with, "Hi, my name is so-and-so, and I do this." Gone. They're already scrolling past. Okay? You want to, yeah, get right to it. Ask a question. I love, in all my stuff, I love starting with asking a question. Do you suffer from shoulder pain? Okay, and I'm going to do that for all those questions that this shows me they're already asking. And I'm not going to change anything except I'm going to put, do you, right? There's their question that they're asking. So it's very templated, very easy for you to do without thinking. So you ask the question, then, so let's do this. Okay, start by asking the question. Okay, name 2 to 3 problems that they're having because of this question. Then offer your solution, which is, my name is, and I help ICP experience outcome. Then give one, I call it outrageous tip, something your clients pay for, right? Like maybe you've got a secret shoulder thing that, you know, immediately takes away their pain or decreases it by 50 cents. I mean, this is where you prove your expertise. This is where you share the gold. This is where you teach something to them. Right, exactly. Then you have your CTA, which is, if you're experiencing fill in the blank and you want my help, do this. DM me, text me, go to my website, fill out this form, etc., etc. You get the idea. Okay? So now you've got 5 videos talking to your ideal client about problems you know they have and that they're actively searching for solutions online, and you make those 5 videos, and now that's what you put on your social media, right? And ideally, whether if you have money, you put money behind them so more people can see them at scale. If you don't have money, you have to get creative. They go on your Facebook, they go on your Instagram, they go on your LinkedIn. You ask your friends and family to share them. You ask your current clients to share them. And you continue to make these videos, different versions of them. There's probably going to be more than 5 questions people are asking. You could probably come up with 100, right? And then every week you make more videos doing the same thing, and you just repeat that process over and over, because each one of these videos is a piece of bait that you're using to fish. And if you do that like this with enough frequency and you do your homework to speak to your ideal client, right, about what they're already looking to fix, you will get people to raise their hand and ask you to help them. So.
That's why you have to be so specific.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
This is absolute gold. If you have not taken a picture of this yet, do it. Questions on this process? From?
So kind of, my question was, actually I have two questions. First off, what if you didn't have Ken and Haley to begin with? So in his case, he already did, and he's kind of expanding more to more clients where have the same interest as, you know, Ken and Haley. But if you didn't have Ken and Haley to begin with, where do you start?
You still could start with the same process. So do you want to ask your second question first?
It's kind of
Okay,
different.
go ahead.
And what if your clients are not just individuals and they're like not a company, but for example, stores. If you wanted, and I'm not trying to get your product into, if it's a software as a service that you provide for stores, for example, how would you do your marketing research?
Yeah.
There's no campaign.
Sure. Okay, so I'll answer the second question first, then we'll go to the first question. So the answer to the second question is that B2B people buy the same as B2C. So owners of businesses that make those types of decisions in the store, they act the same way as Ken and Haley looking for a solution. They're actively looking, they have a problem, they're actively out there looking for a solution. So that answers the second question. The first question is how do you find them?
Yes.
Yeah, you do the same process. So you said you have something that helps stores?
Yeah.
Okay, what is it?
It's an AI theft detection software that helps stores.
Okay, great. So what you need to do is you need to go on the internet and you could use this site. You could ask AI, what are store owners asking about how to deal with, I'm sorry, you said it was?
Theft detection.
Yeah, theft detection, right. Yeah, you could, a very simple way is if you just go into Google and so one is Google. Another great one is YouTube. I would start here with Answer the Public, but once you exhaust the three free searches, I think it's three, come to these two. And just type in the search bar, okay, anti-theft protection for stores. Okay, you probably have a better idea of what somebody would be looking for, but anyways, and then Google naturally will show you everything else that people are searching for that is similar to this. Same thing with YouTube, and the reason I say YouTube is actually the second largest search engine in the world. And people go there for only two primary reasons. One, to be educated, or one, to be entertained. So you can type that same thing in the YouTube search bar, and then it will show you everything else that people are looking for. And then you click on a video, and then over on the right-hand side, it'll have all the recommended videos. You can see the types of information people are looking for that want to solve this problem or whatever problem it is that your ICP has. And that's how you do. And most people, they skip all this. They skip the research. And back to what he said about AI and that being a great equalizer amongst all businesses is you can just throw a simple prompt in to AI, is tell it who your ICP is, and then tell it to go out and search forums, search the web, search Reddit, and to give you, a detailed report on, go over here, okay, one, what questions are they asking? Tell it to give you what pain points are they having, 3, what are they hearing about, right, X, Y, Z, whatever problem it is, in the marketplace? Okay, and then 4, probably ask, what are the current solutions they're seeing? And AI is going to give you, 3 to 10 page report. If you go on, like, I'm a big fan of Claude, but I use Claude for like writing stuff, but like for research, I'd probably use ChatGPT, and then just put it in the research mode. Ask these 4 questions. You're going to get a very detailed 3 to 10 page report on all this stuff with all the information about your avatar that will give you more than enough information for you to be able to make those videos talking to your specific ICP about the problems that they're actively looking for. And then your job is just to make the videos. If you don't like to make the videos, well, then you gotta either hire somebody else to do it. I don't know, barter with a friend for them to make the videos and you write the script, but you gotta get the message out there, right? Because marketing is just about attention, attention, attention.
I'm going to jump in here. Mike, this is fantastic. Thank you for sharing this. I know that you have clients that pay you a lot more money than whatever we bartered for this. Which you didn't even eat dinner here, so that it's that water in exchange. Thank you. Thank you. I want to honor your times. And so we'll wrap up here. But a couple things. In a moment, Julie will come up and give a preface or give a note on what's to come. But thanks for coming here. I really think this is the great differentiator. Mike, thank you for being open and transparent, both in terms of the personal life as well as giving away the secrets. The impact of that you'll probably never truly realize as it spreads out in this community and beyond. We appreciate you. As we wrap up in the interim at the end of this, I'd encourage you to stick around. If you have a question that you're like, I really want to ask Mike this question, will you be able to?
Absolutely, yeah.
Come ask Mike. And also, the other people in the room are doing interesting things. And so chat with a neighbor for a little bit. Leadership will gather upstairs in maybe 10 minutes or so. Will you join me in thanking Mike, though? All right, Julie, close us out if you would. Yeah.